Yo, what's up my brother, what's up my sister? This is your boy Oscar Ntege again with yet another amazing tutorial. In this particular tutorial, we are going to do a bit of skin retouching and color grading in this whole tutorial. As a beginner photographer, I really struggled a lot with perfecting things on set. Basically, most of the times I used to take images, but they never came out as I really wanted them because I did not really have the best lighting equipment and I did not really have the best lenses that there is. I'm not saying that it is only the gear that contributes to greatness of image, but in terms of clarity and megapixels, then the quality of lighting, I did not have the best diffuse boxes and all that. The only options I had were usually the sun, the shade, and maybe that pop-up flash that used to be on top of images. So I got into a situation where my only option was learning retouching. And if you're a beginner photographer and you're watching this video and you're struggling with the same struggles that I had, then I'm dedicating this video to you. This video is for you who wants to better your images, for you who doesn't have the best equipment but wants to take your photos to the next level. This tutorial is for you guys. This particular image was taken by a photographer friend of mine. His name is Derek of DreamWorks Photography, an excellent photographer. He did the previous image I did on extreme makeover in an image. I'll just leave the link to that particular tutorial here. It is basically a full tutorial that goes through perfecting makeup and putting it right in Photoshop. This particular one, we are only going to do skin and some bit of color grading. We're going to use a technique called frequency separation doing this particular image. So basically, we are going to put these skin tones right, and we are going to get off all these blemishes that you see, and we're going to whiten her eyes. We shall try to remove also these hairs in the nose. And the model's name is Barbara Namuddu. I've shot her and she's one of the best models we have in Uganda. I guess I'll leave the link to her Instagram account in the description. I'll also leave the link of DreamWorks in the description below so that you guys can follow them and tag them. I'm also leaving this image in the description below, in the link in the description below, so that you can follow along and we learn together. What do you think? Right? Okay, let us dive into this. So we're going to use a technique called frequency separation. If you want to see a full tutorial on frequency separation, I'll leave a link up there so that you see the full explanation. Here we go. So you can duplicate this layer twice, and then you unsee this particular upper layer. Then we name this tones, and we're going to rename the upper one textures. So basically what frequency separation does is we separate the tones from textures. What we are going to do, we are going to split this image into two separate layers. Look at it this way. Imagine you have a song, yeah? And then a song is made up of frequencies. So these frequencies, one of the frequency is the vocals and the other frequencies are the beats. Now, what we are going to do, we are basically going to, it's like separating the vocals of an artist from the beats, yeah, so that you have all of them stand at different frequencies. This is what we are going to do. So we're going to have the textures on their own layer, and we're going to have the tones on their own layer. Yes? Okay. So let us click onto the tonal layer, and then we remove the eye icon off the texture layer. So you come here into filter, you say blur, Gaussian blur right there, and then here is the trick now. Every texture that you want to retain in the final image has to be blurred out here, because you're going to subtract all the texture from this tonal layer and transfer it up in that particular layer. So every texture you want to be subtracted and retained in the final image has to be blurred out in this first phase of the image. So we're going to come and blur it out. Don't take it overboard to a level where she goes beyond identity. No, don't take it that way. So you're going to blur it out in such a way that you don't know, you see the skin getting smooth. Yeah. Okay, that is too much for me. I still want a little bit of, I think I'll keep it around that area. I think I love the fact that the texture here is gone, because this is my favorite texture in the whole image. So I'll just come here and say, okay. So I come and bring back the eye icon on the texture layer. We select the texture layer. We come and say image, apply. Then remember we said we are going to subtract, right? So you come here and say subtract. So we are subtracting texture from which layer? From the tonal layer. So we're going to come here from in the merge, here in the layer, and then you say tones. Remember we are subtracting textures from this and transferring them here. Leave the scaling at 2 and the offset at 128, and leave the rest of the things intact, and then you say okay. So the other thing, we are going to come here and say linear light. Yes, I've been asked a lot, why do I use okay, I will explain this as we are going through, but I've been asked this question many times in my Instagram inbox, and people are asking me, why do you choose to use the Gaussian blur when you are doing frequency separation instead of the smudge tool, or rather, and it is one thing using this particular mixer brush. I don't know, I called it the smudge tool. The mixer brush is a good thing, but it requires a little bit of artistry. It requires a little bit of you being a sculptor when you're doing it. Basically, it does not give me a level of precision that the Gaussian blur would give me. I would rather use the Gaussian blur technique than the mixer brush for reasons of precision and ease of work. So what I do, I usually use the Gaussian blur, and then I use the burning and dodging technique to bring back depth and dimension into the whole image. I have a full tutorial on burning and dodging here. I'll just leave a link just right up there so that you guys can have a look at it. So let us now put the skin tones right. Yeah, okay, before we put the skin tones right, let us first work on the texture layer and get rid of all these blemishes. For the blemishes, we shall use the clone stamp, just right there, and then we zoom in, yeah, and then of course to zoom in, you press Z on your keyboard, and this particular magnifying glass comes in. Then we get the clone stamp from here, then you press Alt, and then you click to select a part that doesn't have pimples, and then you just come and cover it up here. You make sure the opacity and flow in 100, just like that. So we come and just undo all these. This is really quite a long process. I'm not going to go to remove every blemish, but if you want to go to be a perfectionist, definitely you can perfect it. But for the sake of this tutorial not being so long, I'll just remove the big ones. Yeah, but you understand what I really mean. Yeah, we still use the same to remove these. All that, we remove all that stuff. Just come and also get rid of this. I think it's the contacts that really made her eyes turn red, because Barbara has white eyes. I think her eyes weren't used to wearing contacts. That is why they turned red in the process of shooting. But anyhow, I have a full tutorial on how to whiten eyes. Yeah. There. I'm not going to make it really very perfect, but you get really the message. So the next thing we are going to do, we are now going to work on the skin tones and make sure that really these skin tones get more precise. Because when you look at this whole image, you will find that now, for example, the concealer here is brighter than, the skin tones here. When you look at the nose contour, it is not as precise as it is supposed to be. Look at all these, uneven things. So we are going to select the tonal layer, and then we come and say, get the lasso tool just by clicking there, then put the feathering at 18, and then we come here and then we begin doing our selection. Right there, you come into filter, you say blur and Gaussian blur. Yeah, this is where some people use the mixer brush. Yeah, so here for me, I choose to use the Gaussian blur because it gives me a more precise kind of frequency. Yeah, like that. And it does not require really a lot of you being an artist or a sculptor or a painter. So you press Ctrl F to repeat the action. If you're using a newer version of Photoshop, you press Alt Ctrl F. Same applies here. Like that. We come onto this side. Ctrl F. You repeat the same frequency. Come over the nose contour. Oops, now this, when you see this happening, you just know your frequency is so high, especially happening around the highlight zone. We don't want to lose out on the highlight. So you come into filter, say blur, say Gaussian blur, and then you come and reduce, make sure the nose highlight really doesn't go. Places with highlights, you blur it slowly. Don't want to lose out on the highlight, like that. Different parts may require different amounts of Gaussian blur, because at the end of the day, we don't want to flatten the whole face out. Yeah. We still want to maintain the highlights within. I still have a full tutorial on how to edit lips and lipstick, We are not going to go really very high end in this one. I'm just doing a quick edit, really. I felt you guys have really waited for so long without getting any tutorial, and I thought maybe let me do a recap of what we've been doing in the previous tutorials, And basically, we are done with the skin, yeah. Let us put this in a group. At least we look at the before and after. That is the before and that is the after. Before and after. So let us do just a quick burning and dodging so that we remove the flat look. This was not really part of the tutorial, but for the sake of it, let me just come here and get the curves adjustment layer, and then just pull this down a little bit, just like that. And then I'll come double click here and rename this as fun. Then I'll press Ctrl I to invert the mask. By selecting this, you press Ctrl I to invert the mask. Then I come here again onto curves adjustment layer, and then I pump up the highlights, rather the midtones, and then I'll name this Dodge. Then I come here and say Ctrl I. For those of you who don't understand the concepts of burning and dodging, basically burning and dodging, burning is means if rather pumping down exposures, and dodging is pumping up highlights. Do I make sense? Okay, I'll rephrase this. Burning basically is darkening, and dodging is brightening. That is the whole concept of banning and dodging. So since we have an image that has got a flat look, we have lost out on the contours. We ban and dodge in order to bring back the lost contours so that the image doesn't look very, very flat. So we're going to first come and ban. Yeah, you come with your brush. We shall reduce the opacity and flow here. I think 10 by 12, that will do. So you make sure it's white that is on top. Remember, we inverted. And then you come with your brush and ban. You paint over here, also over that area. We shall paint over the cheekbone area so that we chisel her more. Still, we come over here. We paint over around the eye area to create contrast so that we emphasize the eyeliner and the mascara on the eyebrows, and rather on the eyelashes. We come, we chisel her around here. We pan around the face so that we bracket it all in. Down here. So we're going now to dodge. This is really a rough edit. So still the same brush settings. We're just going to come emphasize the nose highlight. I'll make the brush bigger so that it blends in more. Then I'll come also emphasize the highlight on the forehead. I'll emphasize the highlight here, also around there, so that we get the neck more. I'll still come in this zone and emphasize the highlights. Usually makeup artists put there. I'll highlight around that area. Then I'll emphasize the cheekbone a bit. Basically, it is following just like that. And let's put this in a bracket, in a group, just like that. We shall call this ban and dodge, and I'll call this skin. Yeah, so let us look at the before banning and dodge. That is the before, that is the after. See how we've chiseled her? We've really given her depth and dimension. It's not now a flat kind of image. When you look at the background, it has a particular problem. I think it was stained. So let us clean the background using the tonal layer, the frequency separation layer. Just come and say filter, blur, say Gaussian blur. We just blur it out so that the colors blend in. Simple as that. Yeah, we've done that. So the next thing we're going to do some bit of color grading, right? Okay, you just come here into gradient map. Here we're going to do what they call split toning, whereby we want the shadows to be in a particular shade and we want the highlights to be in a particular shade. So that is what we're going to do. So here it is. So you come, okay. Now this side here is for the shadows, this side here is for the highlights. So you come here and say, we want our shadows to have this blue cyanish kind of color, and then we want our highlights. I usually love turning on this search for web, and then I come to the extreme top where the reds is, and then I get this milky kind of color. So you can even write just this color code in your bracket, and then you say okay, and then we say okay. So we come here and reduce the opacity here just a little bit. If you want her to get that melanated kind of skin, you can just, of course, leave the colors there, but we don't want to give her that today. We just want to have a glamour image without any kind of complications. So we're going to keep it at around 11. That's the before, that's the after. But you see, when you have, we just reduce the opacity, it leaves on some kind of haze on top of the image. Yeah, so let me just put it back to where it was, around 9. So what you do, you just come and change the blending mode here to color so that the contrast is restored. So the next thing we're going to do is one of my favorite. It is curves. You come here into curves right there, so you get onto the dark shadow mode, and then just pull the shadows down. Come onto the highlight knob and then pull the highlights up. I think the shadows are way too dark for me. I'll just come and pull them up just a little bit, and also bring back the highlights just a little bit. So I'll come into the yellow filter, rather the blue filter right here, and then I'll push the midtones just a little bit down to bring in that bit of warmth into the whole image. And then I'll come into the highlight zone and then just try to make the highlights warmer, a little bit warmer, so that she gets that kind of tropical vibe to her skin. So, and the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to work on the skin tones by using selective color. Make sure red is selected. When you increase the cyans, definitely you'll suck out the reds, so we are going to just come and suck out the reds just a little bit by increasing the amount of cyan in it. Shall just give it around 7. Then I'll just come and also pull down the magentas just a little bit by 6. And then, guys, don't you think I'm done with this tutorial? If you have any questions, post the questions down there in the comments, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and definitely I'll see you in my next tutorial. With that, adios.